What's up, everybody? This is The Gathering, not live, but I pre-recorded it tonight because I understand you guys are probably out with your families enjoying the great weather that we're having this afternoon. So whenever you get a chance to jump on and watch this tonight, tomorrow, or whenever you do as a family, I'm praying that the Holy Spirit uses it to do a work in your lives as we discover how to turn hate into love in our lives. Now, as you can see, I have got 3 different bottles of soda, pop, Coke, whatever you decide to call it, right up here. And you guys could probably name off each one of these. They're the same color, almost the same bottle shape. Like these two have got the same bottle shape. This one's a little bit different. I've got the labels turned around facing me, but you guys probably recognize immediately what each one of these are. And depends on your taste and what you enjoy. You may like to drink Mellow Yellow, or I don't drink Mellow Yellow ever. So if you want this, let me know. You can have it. Here's another one. Now, I used to drink a lot of Mountain Dew. In fact, one of my favorite Mountain Dews used to be the orange Mountain Dew, and now I like the green one. The Mountain Dew green. What's
Baja Blast.
Baja Blast. Yes, that's one of my favorites now is Baja Blast. But since I'm now a Caldwell County resident, North Carolinian, I was introduced to Sundrop. Now, each one of these is different. Each one of these tastes different. Each one of these looks different. And when we go to the store and we go up to the drink containers and we're like trying to pick out a soda, trying to pick out something that we're going to drink, we're going to judge on what's on the outside. And that's what we're going to use to determine which one we're going to drink. Now, if I'm going to grab this one right now, hopefully it's not going to explode. I think it fell earlier. Yes, there it goes. And I'm going to choose this to drink it because I like Sundrop. So I look at it, I know what it's going to taste like, I judge what's on the outside. And a lot of times in our lives, we do this with people as well. Excuse me. We judge people by what we see on the outside. Another thing that we do this with, a couple weeks ago, if you guys watched the Friday Night Live where Pastor Andrew and I ate liver mush, you know, a lot of people were very opinionated about which liver mush we picked up from the store. On the outside, the packaging looks like it says Jenkins, or the packaging looks like it says Hunters. And when I picked up Jenkins, man, Facebook erupted with, "You got the wrong one." I'm looking at it going, it's just liver mush. But in our lives, we judge things by the way we look at them on the outside. And Jesus has a very good lesson to teach us about doing this with people in our lives. And what Jesus wants us to do is he wants us to let love fill the gaps in our lives when we meet people, when we interact with people, when we find ourselves dealing with people on a daily basis. Because in our lives, we each have one of these 3 areas of people in our lives. We've got people that are our best friends. They are our go-to people all the time. These are the people that we hang out with. These are the people we're on the phone with, we're texting, we're Snapchatting with, we're sending instant messages to. These are our people right here. And then we've got another group of people that maybe we see sometimes, maybe we talk to them occasionally here and there in our lives, and we don't really have much interaction with them, but these are just people in our lives that we know, that we kind of associate with. But then there's other people. And I'm sorry if you're a Mellow Yellow kind of person, but we've got people like this Mellow Yellow where we don't talk to them. Maybe we don't like them. Maybe we don't want to have anything to do with them, and we just kind of try to eliminate them out of our lives as much as we can. But when we're dealing with these different kinds of people, we need to ask ourselves, how would Jesus let love fill the gaps in between how we deal with these different kinds of people in our life? So real quick, let's look at John chapter 8, starting down at verse 3. It says, "The scribes and Pharisees brought a woman caught in adultery, and having set her at the center of the court, and they said to him, 'Teacher, this woman has been caught in adultery in the very act.' Now the law of Moses commanded us to stone such a woman. What then do you say? Now Jesus right here is in a very, very tight conundrum. He's against a rock and a hard place. Because Jesus, if you really want to get down into it, Jesus was the one who wrote the law that they were supposed to stone the person that was caught in the act of adultery. Okay, that's what the Old Testament law of Moses said. Stone the person caught in adultery. And Jesus was the one that wrote that. So here, these men brought this woman caught in adultery to Jesus and said, ha ha ha, we caught her committing adultery. Now, this is what the law of Moses says. Now, let's continue and pick up the story in verse 6, because they said, then what do you say? They were saying this, testing him, so that they might have grounds for accusing him. But Jesus stooped down and with his finger wrote on the ground. But when they persisted in asking him, he straightened up and said to them, he who is without sin among you, let him be the first to throw a stone at her. Again, he stooped down and wrote on the ground. And when they heard it, they began to go out one by one, beginning with the older ones. And he was left alone and the woman where she was in the center of the court. Straightening up, Jesus said to her, woman, where are they? Did none condemn you? And she said, no one, Lord. And Jesus says, I do not condemn you either. Go, from now on, sin no more. And I think that it's amazing how Jesus dealt with this woman that was brought to him having been caught in the very act of adultery, having the men who caught her asking Jesus, what are we going to do with her? We should stone her to death, kill her. Jesus posed a question to these Pharisees. He says, which one of you is without sin? You can cast the first stone. Now, none of those men picked up a stone and threw it at her, because you know why? Each and every one of them had sins in their lives that they were dealing with. They each and every one of them had sins that they knew that they were guilty of. You see, they were not innocent. And so none of them stooped down and picked up a stone to throw at this woman caught in adultery. And the Bible says that one by one, each of these men that brought this lady to Jesus turned around and walked away. Now, why do I think that this is an amazing encounter that Jesus has with this woman? Because the very person that wrote the law of Moses, Jesus himself, could have snooped down, picked up a stone, and thrown it at this lady and started the process of putting her to death because of the sin that she had been caught in. And he didn't. Why do I believe that Jesus did not stone this woman or have her stoned with the people that were there watching? Because Jesus was teaching us and teaching this woman and teaching the Pharisees that we need to have compassion and love fill the gaps in our lives. You see, when we're dealing with people in our lives, yes, we can be judgmental. Yes, we can go out and point out things in people's lives that are wrong. People are doing things wrong all the time, and we can call them out on those things. But what Jesus is teaching us here, and what Jesus taught this woman, and what Jesus taught the Pharisees is, while we're busy pointing out all the different things in other people's lives that are wrong, we need to be pointing the finger back at ourselves and saying, you know what, this is wrong in my life. And I've got this in my life that I need to deal with. And I did this the other day that I know that was wrong. And Jesus here teaches us to let love fill the gaps in our lives when we're dealing with people. I'm going to pose a question to you. How would you rather someone deal with you in your life when you make a mistake? Would you rather have someone come up and point out what you did wrong and point out the mistake that you did and point out all the things that you've done wrong in your life and then leave you hanging there alone, condemned and being judged? Or would you rather have someone come up to you in your life and show you love and compassion? I think we would all choose the love and compassion. Yes, Jesus could have very well condemned this woman. And rightly so. But what does Jesus do? He shows her love. And he tells her to turn and leave and go and sin no more. Jesus filled the gaps in his life when dealing with people over and over and over again with love and with compassion. And that's what he wants us to do as well. When I think about filling the gaps in our lives with love, this is what my mind goes to. A couple years ago, you all know that slime and the stuff that you make with glue and starch was a huge hit everywhere, and everybody was making slime, all kinds of different slime. They were mixing all kinds of different things, glitter and shaving cream and all kinds of weird things to slime to give it different textures and give it different, a different smell and a different way that it formed. All kinds. I hated this stuff. Why? Because my girls had it all over the place. In fact, one time we were traveling up to my in-laws' place up in Indiana, and they wanted to take slime to play with their cousins up there, and so they put it in these containers and put it in the back of the car, and we didn't know that this was happening, but the heat, because it was during winter, I believe, the heat inside the car caused that slime to expand, and as it expanded, it popped the top off the lids of the containers that it was in, and then continued to spill out onto the floor. And when it did, it got in all of the nooks, all of the crannies. It got in the carpet. It got stuck to everything. And as it came out of the container and it quite literally exploded inside of my car, it spread and flowed. And here's the thing. It filled the gaps that it went everywhere. It filled the gaps everywhere that it went. And that's what Jesus wants us to do with love in our lives. He wants us to allow love and compassion to flow and fill every single area of our lives, every gap in our lives, every time that we interact with people. We need to interact with all our best friends, the people that we barely know, and those people that maybe we don't want to even associate with. He wants us to allow love to fill the gaps in every one of those situations. And for us to allow love and compassion to be the way that we deal with people on a daily basis. We should let love fill the gaps in our lives. Can you imagine if every single Christian, that's a lot, and this is not going to happen. I know it's not going to happen, but at least we can make it happen in our lives. But can you imagine if every single Christian allowed love to be the thing that caused them to interact with people instead of hate, instead of judgment, instead of condemnation? When we're at the store, when we're at the gas station, when we're at school, when we're at home, allowing love to fill the gaps in all of our relationships. What if we became known as a people of love instead of a people of judgment and hate? A people who won't let you come to their church because you're dressed a certain way or look a certain way or act a certain way. If you became known for loving those people at your school that nobody wants to deal with, what if that became what you were known for? So today my challenge is to ask you, how are you going to let love fill the gaps in your life? What are you going to do to allow love to invade the way that you interact with people on a daily basis? Hey, thanks for watching. We'll be right back here this coming Wednesday night for Wednesday in the Word as we move on from James chapter 2 to James chapter 3. I look forward to seeing all of you guys this coming Wednesday night as we jump into that Bible study. And be on the lookout because we did a scavenger hunt a couple weeks ago, church-wide, and we had a handful of families participate, and that was a great thing. But Pastor Andrew and I said, what if we upped the game a little bit? What if we included some harder things to accomplish? And what if we allowed a little bit more time for families to do that on the weekends? So we are coming up with another scavenger hunt that's going to be a lot more difficult, and it's going to have more time for you to complete those challenges. And we will have a prize for the winning family. If you didn't know, the Locklears were the ones that won the last one, and we took them dinner from Backstreets in Hickory. And so I know that Pastor Andrew and I are planning that. So be looking for that in the next couple of weeks. And I'm really excited about the potential that has for you and your family, to get together and do this in the next couple of weeks. As always, if y'all need anything, if you can think of something that you need me to pray about, contact me, let me know. Oh, and don't forget, I need to know if you're going to be going to camp with us. We've got a different place at the beach that we're going. It's going to be July 5th through the 10th. I'm making up my list. I'm checking it twice. I'm trying to find out who's going or not. So contact me and let me know if you're going to camp with us, and I will check you guys out this coming Wednesday.